before beginning this video, I want to say that yes, this video is very long, but I time-stamped sections. You can skip whatever section you're not here for. The video contains 3 main sections. The first one is me reminiscing my gaming experience to show you that preserving games to playable state is important and possible as well. The second section is my arguments against Daniel's weblog, which was apparently endorsed by a certain famous YouTuber who opposed to the Stop Killing Game initiative. And no, I will not say the name of the YouTuber because I don't want the drama. The last section is my argument against the biggest gaming industry lobbying group called Videogames Newspaper. Hear me. So with that, enjoy. Well, hello users. I regret to inform you that you cannot use the dishwasher you bought because I don't want to maintain my server anymore. Hear me. Okay, what kind of emotion stirred within you if that was actually real? So, now what if you heard that you can't play the games you bought anymore because the power that be decided that they don't want to maintain the server anymore? Yeah, I think you know where this is going, and it all started with one of the games from Ubisoft, The Crew. Oh, start is probably not the right words, more like a catalyst, I suppose. So, The Crew is a game about driving around America, I guess. This game is always online games, so you can't play this offline, apparently. Even though there's a campaign mission which can be played solo. Okay, cool. That's no problems. Well, the problem comes when it fell off, and in 2024, Ubisoft decided to delete the game and the server will be offline, so the game will not be accessible anymore. That's pretty bad, huh? So your games that you just bought, probably a long time ago, will be not playable after a certain time just because they don't want to. That's it. So one guy called Lost Scott, he has a YouTube channel called Accursed Farms. Well, he's not a politician, but he used the delisting events as a catalyst to create the movement called Stop Killing Games, which is a movement to stop killing games. Wow, who would have thought? So essentially they won games after its end of life if the always online games or whatever want to stop supporting the games. The movement want the publishers or developers to at least provide a ways to continue playing the games for a foreseeable future. Which just seems reasonable, right? Because single player games are everywhere, right? So anyway, this movement have an initiative in the European Citizens Initiative. Anyway, it needs 1 million signatures, but with the power of gamers combined, apparently they went far beyond the required amount. If you are the citizen from EU, you should still sign the initiative, the petition or whatever, because some signatures might be invalidated if they type the wrong data, misspell names or something. That could happen, or maybe they're just underage. So just sign anyway. If you could, if you're from, if you are the citizen, you don't have to live in the EU right now, just as long as you're the citizen. So I beg you, please, if you haven't signed it, please sign him. There's also UK petition, which only requires 100,000 signatures. And well, maybe you should keep signing it too, to show them that we really want games to not be killed. Apparently they're going to set up debate sometimes. I hope it's televised, and if it's televised, I hope it has subtitles, especially for the Scottish representative. Those guys are very hard to listen to. Anyway, so this initiative has a very simple objective, is to leave the video games in functional playable state. Sounds reasonable, right? So the initiative itself did not haven't outlined what the publishers or developers should do, because they can do whatever they want. Just do whatever they want. Just make the video games be in a functional playable state. That's it. Just that easy, huh? So probably people already heard of the movement and the initiative, but I don't know. I think some people might not understand why we want games to be playable for a long time, even if the publishers don't wish to support them anymore, I suppose. And why do we view making the game playable, even if there's no publisher support, is possible, right? I want to tell my side of the stories, I suppose. Why do I think this is possible? Why do I think it is a very reasonable demands? Hear me? I'm not too old, but not too young. So my first gaming experience, there was a time when my whole family, including myself, was in Japan, and we bought the Super Famicom, the Japanese version, of course. Yeah, I still have this console. Looks the same. Well, it's a little bit yellow, probably because of the age from plastics. What a shame. I should have stored it better, I guess. But yeah, I remember the experience of having to blow into the cartridges, having to reinsert the cassette. I guess that's what it calls. Good times. But thank God for the CDs after this console. So games that I have played with those includes Street Fighter 2, the Japanese version, because we bought it in Japan. Good fun. I don't like fighting games that much, but I have played that a lot when I was a child. A bit unfortunate that I don't like the game too much to be playing it in this day and age, but good memories. We also bought Prince of Persia. Looks exactly like this, the Japanese version. Again, did not enjoy this one because it's a platformer. I don't know, it feels laggy to me, I guess. I don't remember. Well, this is not the game review videos. Let's move on. And Sailor Moon, that was fun. Haven't played for a long time. Well, I think I played it on emulator last year or something. Donkey Kongs, I still play this pretty recently on emulator. I still have the cassette and the system, but I don't want to blow air into cassettes anymore. So I'm just gonna use emulators. But good times. And also SimCity. Do you believe this? They have SimCity back in whatever the year is. And it's Japanese as well. I have to guess a lot. Good old days. I still play this to this day. There's an emulator on Android that can play the Super Famicom. So this one is still in my phone. Good fun. And my most favorite game, probably in my life, as far as the console game goes, is this game from Konami, back when Konami was still the good guys. Also when current Konami, I don't recognize them. Anyway, it's called Jikyo Oshaburi Parodius. It's a side-scroller shooty games. Back then, Konami really likes side-scroll shooter for some reason. Unfortunately, it never have any English translated version. So what a shame. But nevertheless, I really recommend you guys to play this game, especially if you like side-scroll shooty games. I play this game at least once a month to this day. Very fun. I still have the manual, although it's the paper seems a little bit wrinkled for some reason. Oh well, it's what it is. So you can see that like one of my most favorite game in the entire life is back in 1995. So old games. Some games are pretty good. And then afterwards, I came back to my hometown. Well, our hometown. We, the family. Wow, English, that was hard. We all came back to our country, Southeast Asia, and I don't think we bought even Super Famicom or everything really. We never bought games and the consoles at the time of the release because we always wait for them to go on discount. Behavior that still live on to these days. Probably runs in the family. Anyway, we bought PlayStation 1. Looks exactly like this, I think. Yeah, I think so. I don't remember the Joy-Con, but I remember this. Although we sold this when we have the PlayStation 2. Anyway, PlayStation 1, I still have games, my favorite games of all time that I still play to this day, like Final Fantasy Tactics. Well, thank God they I guess it's called remaster into Android. So I play the Android version instead. But back when they don't have the Android version, I use the emulator to play this on Android phone so that I can play them wherever I want. Yep. And then Bomberman Party Edition. Used to play this a lot. Single player with AIs. You can play that with 4 people, I think. I think they have campaign mode, well, not campaign, but adventure modes would be more appropriate to say that. But yeah, I still play this to this day. Not that regularly, but I still do. And then Suikoden 2, I stream this. Lots of fun. Actually, Suikoden 1 as well. But I replay Suikoden 2 like 7 times in my lifetime, I think. So one of my most favorite JRPG in my entire life. I will probably buy the remaster version on Steam, right? I think that on Steam and stream it as well. That's how much I enjoy this game. Yep. And then Hermie Hop Ahead. I guess I don't think people know this game very much. It's like Mario, which is called platformer, right? But you can have companions, which is these pets. You play as this boy. You squash trashes. So that's a good game for global warming campaign, I guess. Even though this game was made before global warming, I think. Anyway, I streamed this. One of the first game I streamed, actually. Good fun, but I still play this from time to time to this day. The only only criticism is that sometimes it's too hard. Which is par for the course for games back in the old days, I suppose. And then there's Arc the Lad 2, which is a turn-based tactic JRPG. Think Fire Emblem, very similar. I stream this. This is the first game that I actually stream in my channel. good fun, but get repetitive a little bit fast. But I enjoy coming back to this game from time to time. Very nice. And then Chocobo Racing. That's what it says on the box. I still have the box. Looks very similar to this, or exactly like this. It's a racing game in Squaresoft universe, I suppose. Like they have black mesh, white mesh, and Chocobo. Of course, the golems, Bahamut, I think. I still play this to this day. Haven't streamed it, but probably will do some days. And then Tales of Eternia, I also streamed this game, although they remastered this on PSP, so I streamed the PSP version. You wouldn't believe that they have, I don't know, is it 3 or 4 discs? like two CDs. That's normal to me, because most games that I bought on PC, they have 2 CDs. But this game, it has more than 2 CDs that you have to swap in the middle of the games. Very surprising. But it's one of the JRPG that's fully voiced, but close to fully voiced, I suppose. Very fun. I think I replayed this probably 4 times in my lifetime. Had so much fun, and I will probably play this again in the future. Well, probably in a stream, you know. Anyway, I have so many more games than what I just showed, but I only showed the one I still play to this day. The nostalgia is coming to me. So after PlayStation 1, then we bought PlayStation 2. Well, not the big one. We bought the slim version. I don't remember what's the difference, but you know, we like small stuff. So here we are. I don't remember that it has USB. Maybe I have to go check it out later. I still have this locked away in storage room somewhere. We haven't sold it because the games are so good to me, I think. So games that I frequently played to this day: Call of Duty 3, streamed this game. I replayed the campaign like more than 10 times, I think. Maybe with the exception of some level that I don't like. But yeah, I played a lot to this day as well. And they have ported to Nintendo Wii, and I bought them. So I'll stream that as well. That'll be fun. And then Tales of Symphonia. I love this one a lot. I think it's one of the best story for the Tales series. Yep. I feel like the graphic is a little bit dated, but I can deal with that. The story is too good. Yep. Luckily, they ported this into PC and probably Nintendo Switch as well. So I streamed the PC version because I don't want to use emulator that much. And then we have Full Metal Alchemist Dream Carnival. It's a 4-player fighting game. So think Smash Brother, but without falling off the stages. It's a HP system. And this one is based in Full Metal Alchemist. I still play this game pretty frequently to this day. Very fun. And then there's Full Metal Alchemist Kaminosuke Shoujo, or the girl who succeeds God. I wish they localized into English, but I think one of the reasons that I haven't decided to stream Full Metal Alchemist is because they're all in Japanese. And while I can listen to Japanese, reading them on the other hand is a painful experience to me. So probably not gonna stream this soon. But anyway, I still play this game to this day. It's an adventure game, so quite fun. There's actually the prequel as well. So let's move on. So I think somewhere around PS1, before PS2, we bought PCs. I kinda remember. I do have the PC case, but it's in the storage room, and I don't wanna brave the dust and dankness just to go take a look. I think it was the one with Core 2 Duo with ATI GPU. For those who don't know, I think ATI has become AMD in this day and age. Anyway, at the time we have this setup. The first PC game that we've bought is Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. Very old games. It's still an isometric top-down view game. And this game is about building theme park. So much fun. Still play this game. Luckily, they ported this into Android. And so I just play them on Android. Very good. It has expansion as well, and I think the Android version has all the expansions. So yeah, I still play this game to this day. And what do you know? Back in the days, they sell games in huge box. I think it's like A4 size or maybe A3. I have no idea, but it's really big. But I didn't keep them because I don't know why. Maybe I didn't think that they would discontinue this practice very fast. So, but in the day, you've got a huge box, and inside, sometimes you get just the menu and the CD case with CD in it, obviously. Sometimes they have freebies, bonus, whatever it costs, physical bonus, fun times buying games back in the day. So the CD case would be probably like this. I'm showing this because some people may have never seen a CD and its case anymore. So here you are, some example. And then the case would have like a cover art both in front and the back. Most of the time, the back of the case would include advertisement for other games from the same publishers. Good old times. I look at them a lot back in the days. Then the next game we bought, SimCity 4. It comes in the box as well. And back in the day, they give you a model of a skyscraper for free when you buy this game. Now I wish I can show you that, but it failed and it broke. So I wish I kept that, or maybe we kept that. Maybe we grew that, but I couldn't find them anymore. So 07. Anyway, so used to be games came in a huge box compared to the size of the CD disc. So yeah, hopefully you know how big is this based on the scale of something else. But yeah, I miss having these boxes. Very nice. I don't remember if they have menus. I'm sure I don't have one now, but I don't remember having any menus. I also have the expansion pack when it's not the next quote-unquote game that I bought after SimCity 4, but when I bought the expansion pack, they already discontinued the practice of packaging in these big boxes, which in hindsight, I guess you would guess that it came from Japan or something because they really like packaging, but apparently not. So very cool. So by the time I have Rush Hour expansion pack, it came in this kind of DVD boxes. the actual next game that I bought after SimCity 4 is Command and Conquer Generals, one of my top favorite RTS in my entire life. Never uninstall this game. Every PC that I have touched will have this game in it, and at least once a week I will boot this game and play a skirmish, at least one skirmish per week. This game is that good. And the next one that I bought is the expansion for the Command and Conquer Generals, which is the 0 Hours expansion. Good fun. A bit of a misleading marketing with this though. The aircraft carrier only appears in like 2 missions. It's not even usable in skirmish. But you know what? The expansion still delivers so much fun. Still amazing games to me. As I have said, I still play this game to this day, once per week. Very fun, especially with mods. Yep. I still have the menus for both of these games. I think I remember that I think the back side of 0 Hour for me is the advertisement for The Sims 1 pet expansion. I think for the base game, the back of the case, the CD case, is the advertisement for SimCity 4. Jokes on you, I already have one. Anyway, yeah, still play this to this day, despite how old it was. I think this was released in 2003, I think. So it is that old. Yep. The next I bought Letter 2. I remember that I did not check the back of the case at all. So by the time I saw Letter 2 on the shelf of the game store, well, the place where I bought is not a game store. There's no dedicated game store where I live. So you buy games in like bookstores or stationery stores rather, which is weird, but it is what it is. So when you guys says that, oh, that's GameStop and such, nope, I never have such a experience before in my life. Probably because Southeast Asia doesn't have that big of a opinion on games, I suppose. Anyway, by the time I saw these things on the shelf, is in DVD case, like in SimCity 4 Rush Hour, and without looking what's behind the case, I didn't know what Red Alert 2 is. Haven't heard of it before in my life. Remember that it's actually probably back in 2005 and internet wasn't that widespread, so there's no Reddit, no forums. I think my English wasn't that good as well, so I didn't travel through internet that much. But yeah, I saw Command and Conquer and EA Games, and I just know that it is going to be very good. And next in the same shelf, next to Letter 2, is the expansion, the Yuri's Revenge. So again, because it's Command and Conquer and EA Games, I knew that it would be amazing. And because I knew that it would be amazing, I bought the expansion with the base game at the same time. Like, I don't have to test the base game first. I knew that it would be very good. That's how much faith I placed upon the name EA Games back in the day. but alas, it got worse. Level 2 and its expansion, Yuri's Revenge, I still play it to this day, especially with mods. The Mental Omega mods. I stream the base game, the expansion, and the modded one. I had so much fun. And then next I bought Rise of Nations. There was a time that I went on like a game demo, loading spree. And I saw this game, and even with the demo, with limited factions or nations that you can play, I must have played this game for like hundreds of hours on demo. And now that I found it on the shelf, I bought it. And it was so good that now there's a remaster version on Steam. I bought that as well. It was that good. Even without the remaster, I would be playing this version in particular to this day. I had so much fun. I have never seen any spiritual successor to this game. Very unfortunate. I hope someone just do it already, for God's sake. Anyway, I think this is probably back when Ubisoft is still the good guys, I suppose. But yeah, good fun. I think to me, not for everyone, to me, EA as a company kind of become worse and worse. Started as SimCity in 2013. The always online shenanigan. They said the game requires to be always online, but apparently it's not. Someone modded the game and make them play offline indefinitely. I don't know if anyone remember that, but this moment is kind of like an eye-opener to me, I guess, that the EA company is not the same EA that I have known and loved, I suppose. Very disappointing. And then the sense of pride and accomplishment and stuff happen. God, I'm so sad. Anyway, yeah, about SimCity, they released the single player mode. Of course. I mean, probably because someone showed them that they can do it, I suppose. Anyway, I still have Nintendo Wii, Nintendo Switch, but let's not get into that. I don't wanna go to the more modern part. I wanna show you that these games that I love to this day, they have single player mode. You don't have to connect to internet. Probably because back in those days, it's a dial-up internet. So I think you use the same communication line as phone lines, and it's really slow. And back then, even MMO RPGs, they're all point and click games, which is different from today. From today, there are MMO RPGs that are more like action games, more responsive games that are not just point and click, right? That's because everyone got pretty good internets all over the world. So now they can do that. Back in those days, no way they can get away with like action MMORPG. I think the lag would make the game less fun, I suppose. But yeah, so most of these games, if they can be played in multiplayer, they would have online mode and local area network mode, where you don't need to connect to servers. You just go peer-to-peer with local area network. Go figure. So I wish I could say I know why they don't do LAN, local area network, anymore, but I guess you know why. And that's why the movement and the initiative happened. And also, recently, I streamed Far Cry 3. You can still play this game, but because Ubisoft probably decided that it's not profitable to maintain the server, they remove co-op and multiplayer mode from this game. Why can't they patch in like some local area network functionality or something for the co-op? Like you can still play the game, the story mode, but what about people who love the co-op mode and the multiplayer mode? That's sad. Anyway, so imagine if these games are made now, or maybe 5 years ago, and then they decided that we will make these games always online, even on single player mode, campaign mode, or whatever, like the like this one. Hear me? Imagine that, and then they decided to just close the server, and you can't play this game anymore. What a huge shame if that happened. It's like The Crew or SimCity 2013. That's a single player mode, or some would say it's a solo mode. It doesn't require any connection with the server, so why make it harder? And well, we know why, so that The Crew could happen, so they can sell The Crew 2 to you or something. So how nice, publishers. How nice. Yeah, I hope you can see why I think it's not that hard to design a game to be playable, even after the company says, nope, we are not gonna maintain the servers anymore. Because look at these games. They have single player mode, online mode, and local area network mode. Why can't we just do that with most games? Or, like The Crew. Yeah, you could have just done that from the start. But no. Then you're going to say, oh, it's too hard to make the game playable after we close down the server. The code is too difficult. How did you do it with these games? Is this like some mystical arcane stuff that only the old gods, the old developers could do, but the new developers, those people are incompetent, apparently? Well, I want to show you that it was possible back in the old days, and I want to show you that old games can be very good, and so good that newer games can't even come close to those old games. That's why it's important that games should still be playable, even if the publisher decided that, nah, we don't want you to play them anymore. Like, how is that fair? We didn't get this game for free. Even free-to-play games, there's microtransaction. Like, you can just take our money and run? Like, come on. Like, I would argue that for Far Cry 3, they should have reimbursed the paying customers as well when they remove the co-op and multiplayer mode, because obviously, because the cost of developing multiplayer mode and the co-op mode has been put into the price for the players to pay as well. Like, how is it fair that you can remove part of the games without reimbursing the paying players? I don't know. And I'm a bit scared about Far Cry 4, and then 5, and then 6 as well. So it's not at this point, it's not a question of if it's going to happen. It's a question of when it's going to happen. the server shutting down. Maybe back then you might thought that Ubisoft, EA Games, others, they're big company, so you might expect them to maintain servers for long time. But apparently not. I mean, Far Cry 3, was it released in like 2012? I don't remember. And when was it got taken out? The co-op and the multiplayer mode, was it? I don't know. I'll be charitable and say 10 years. Why? Who decided that 10 years is enough to stop part of the gameplay, like co-op and multiplayer? Why 10 years? Games or even softwares in general, they don't age. It's not a vacuum cleaner that it has moving parts that could deteriorate as you use them. It's a code. You can copy them, you can tune them, refine them, whatever you want. It doesn't have an age. It could live forever. Like what? Why do you give them an age, a lifespan? It makes no sense. Especially when the solution is right here all along. Local area network connection, peer-to-peer, private servers. The solution is right there. Like, I know that developers love to invent problems and sell solution, but it's probably have come too far now that now you can choose to end the life of the game anytime you want and stop people from even accessing the games. Like, no, it shouldn't be like that, right? And as I show you back in the days, it's possible. So what's the difference now? Well, I know why. I have read some counterpoints and we will go through it right now. First, there was a huge drama, and I will not going to get into the drama, so I will not say the name of this individual, but he's a YouTuber, a very famous one. He opposed the movement very much, the Stop Killing Game movement and the initiative. Recently, he cited this web blog. I don't know who Daniel is. And it's not Daniel, by the way. The YouTuber that I was talking about, not Daniel. I don't know who Daniel is. I don't have to know. We are supposed to use logical reasoning and argument. We don't need to know who is this person. So I don't care who they are. The famous YouTuber cited this blog as a counterpoint to not support the Stop Killing Games. I want to give my perspective on these arguments. So here we go. Stop Killing Games and the EU when activism meets legal reality. I find it ultimately ironic that the reason why Stop Killing Games has to exist in the first place is EU laws. Okay. Countries with fair use or fair dealing doctrines like the US, Canada, and UK, interesting, have provisions to cover the preservation of games via modding and emulation. How and does that save the crew, or what's going on? And are you saying that the game killing is not a problem in America, Canada, and UK? I'm so confused. However, for the EU, due to DRM, associated laws and regulations, publishers and game devs have the right to control their copyright via an online system, which ultimately makes end-of-life bills that the movement is hoping for moot. Well, if this is true, then the movement, and by extension the initiative, is saying that the law isn't fair. That's it. the legal framework they're actually fighting. The EU operates under the Information Society Directive 2001/29/EC, which provides an exhaustive list of copyright exceptions rather than the open-ended fair use doctrine employed by the United States. Well, can you provide more exceptions? That'd be cool. Article 6 of this directive requires, more exceptions to stop killing games. Just that easy. Article 6 of this directive requires member states to provide adequate legal protection against the Convention of Technological Measures. Exactly what Stop Killing Games wants to override? No. So are you saying that these games are illegal in copyright law according to EU? Is that what you are saying? Interesting choice of reasoning. Since SKG or Stop Killing Games claims to want the copyrights to stay as is, by extension, the systems to protect copyrights will also stay as is. Okay, no problem there. Publishers choose to keep single-player games online to maintain DRM copyright protection systems under EU law. Yeah, I guess that's one of the reasons. The Copyright Directive prohibits circumvention of both access and copy protection measures, making it potentially more restrictive than even the USDMCA. On the other hand, if there was a IP lease by the publishers to be used for X years, once the time is up, it's illegal for the publishers and its users to continue using the IP. Yeah, I argued against this on the video games Europe argument, but I guess I'll make it now. So imagine you are in the year 2000 or something. You have dial-up internet. Not everyone has the privilege to even have internet. So you can't make your games always online or live service. So the license that would say players can't play your games anymore after a certain time has passed would be virtually impossible to enforce, right? Like you can't send the police to come into my house and break my CDs, right? And uninstall my game as well. But in this day and age, because everyone got the internet, now publishers and developers makes the games always online because everyone can be always online. So now, like a new type, like a mutant of a license has formed, and that is, after a certain time, you have to stop servicing your game or shut down the server of your game. Bam! Your players' access revoked very easily. All this could happen because of the proliferation of internet. Essentially, the licensing problem is the problem that the publishers and the industries, not only the gaming industries, even the music or movie industries, perpetuate themselves by making this new license. So, I don't know, how about not making that kind of license? Or, since the initiative is not retroactive, I think that's like legal system 101. Generally, laws are not retroactive. Even laws in your country is probably not retroactive. So it doesn't apply to all the games. And they will probably provide some delay before enforcement time, like years anyway. So like it's a strange concern. It's it's realistic, but feels like it's a you problem, the industry problem, rather than the player problem. And also, if let's say the music license still insists to do so to limit the time or whatever, with Stop Killing Game, assuming that the law follows the ideal to a T, then just prepare to change the music using patches. Just that easy. No, there are games that, well, I guess kinda do that, but games that I have experience with changing music due to license, believe it or not, is this game, because they make a remaster, I suppose, on PlayStation after the Super Famicom, and one of the music in a stage is, I don't know what the name is, but it goes that's the way which is licensed apparently. So in the remaster, they don't want to probably negotiate the license again. They change the music. Just that easy. Wow. The games back in 1996 can solve the licensing issue, but the games for today? Nah, we are not that good. We can't do that. We don't have the technologies. We don't have the skills. Oh no. Like, come on. You must be kidding me. The consumer protection reality check. It's very likely that gamers will need to pay extra to maintain a license to use copyrighted material, so the game is playable but not free. Is that acceptable to supporters? A cursory glance after this course says no. Let me guess, they says no, followed by, that's not what we meant. Like, what? What do you mean? Maintain license to use copyrighted material. What does this mean? How? I think what Stop Tuning Games are asking for is not that different from these games. You can still play them, and I'm pretty sure that EA games still have copyright over Command and Conquer franchise. Like, I doubt anyone else can make like Command and Conquer themselves and monetize this. What is this about? Why do I have to pay extra when I don't have to do that in those games? What? What are you talking about? Like, this reads to me like someone who only plays live services games and always online games in their life. Like, I don't know. Are we sure that, they're at legal age? Maybe they're too young. I don't know. But here's where it gets particularly absurd. Ooh, absurd, you say. The EU already has comprehensive consumer protection mechanisms. The Consumer Rights Directive 2011/83/EU covers digital content sales. Okay. I wish I can read all of them and find out exactly which part of this directive is what this block meant to protect consumer or do things in Stop Tuning Games context. It's really long. I don't have that much time. And ultimately, it doesn't matter what directive is already in place. The initiative is there to voice to the EU that the consumers doesn't agree with the current practices. And if there's law that facilitates such a practice, well, we don't agree with them as well. Just that easy. They are the law, the EU. I mean, they can change it. I'm pretty sure. The Digital Content Directive 2019/770 specifically addresses digital content conformity. Well, again, it's amazingly long, so I'm not gonna read all of that. So instead of doing that, let me ask ChatGPT. Yeah? So first, the 2011/whatever, I asked ChatGPT to read it for me, and I just asked them, can we take away from players? So they just cited some 14 right-of withdrawal and contractual obligation, blah, 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 blah. It's not explicit. So I asked again, well, what about movies and books? Because they suffer as well. They need transparency, right of withdrawal, which is probably the same as the argument from video games Europe lobbyists, I suppose. Anyway, it regulates consumer according to the ChatGPT, so they could be wrong, and I don't even care. Because again, if it supports what he says, well, the initiative is going to tell the EU that we don't agree. Does not regulate post-sale digital access or guarantee digital ownership. Well, cool. How does that make sense in the context of stop killing games? Then it regulates only at the point of sale, apparently. Well, it could be wrong. I mean, it's AI. AI is wrong all the time. And for Directive 2019-770, I ask the same question. It says, no, you can't disable games after purchase without consequences. Has there been consequences to games that shut down their servers? Like remedies? Where's that? What? They can't take it away arbitrarily. Did that happen? Wow, must be in alternate universe. I think they said something about they can't take away if it's said about time frame. So I said, what if they never said that the game would be forever? I asked like a simpleton, I suppose. Even if the publisher doesn't say the game is forever, the first assumption is EU law protect the consumer. They say, it just say reasonable amount of time. Excellent. What is reasonable amount of time? The certain YouTuber says 2014 to this day means the game is very old. But look at these games that I still play today. Like, it is at least 20 years and I still play them because they're good. They're unique. You can't find any other games like this anymore. And I expect that games in the future would be unique, can't find other games like them. Based on the ChatGPT, apparently it doesn't even come close to what Stop Killing Games are trying to say. The Consumer Protection Cooperation Network can levy fines up to 4% of annual turnover for violations. Have that happened? The upcoming Digital Fairness Act will specifically look at video games in particular in relation to young people and address gambling like features in video games. How is this sentence related to Stop Killing Games? I'm amazingly confounded. But let's move on. The movement is essentially asking for rights that don't exist while ignoring the extensive protection that already do. What protection? It asking for rights that don't exist. Then maybe we should make a new rights. No? What? You're like saying that back in the olden days, drinking water is not regulated. Therefore, that such a right doesn't exist. So you can't ask for one. So keep drinking water contaminated with lead and cadmium. Why don't you? Nom nom nom. Are you kidding me? What a bad logical reasoning, this sentence. Anyway, let's move on. Government overreach and legal contradictions. You love to see it. Government overreach. Okay, before we read on, government overreach versus corporate overreach, I would prefer government overreach because they are more accountable to people. Well, I say more, not that they are always accountable to people, but you know what I mean. But the corporate, they're only accountable to their shareholders and money. So why would I want them to have an overreach? Why? Like I have zero say in a corporate policy English. But for the government, I might have maybe 20% says in their policy. I would take that. It's more than zero. I would take that. Thank you. However, the core controversy is not even this. It's about asking the government to legislate and regulate how games are even made. Yeah, like water. I need clean water. To be fair, probably there's some limitation imposed in how games are made, but it's for the consumers. That's essentially it. It's like drinking water. Maybe back in the day, no need for filtration. You scoop the water, put it in the bottle, and sell it. But with regulation, now you have to filter the water, do reverse osmosis or whatever, and UV, blah blah blah. And you have to quality check the water. So with regulation, yeah, you introduce and limit processes to make bottled drinking water, but you need them because you don't want consumers to be sick, do you? Well, in this case, it's not that high stake, no one's gonna die, but why would people want anti-consumer practice being done on them? We're not masochists. We don't have Stockholm syndrome. No. Every industry have regulation. In my line of work, there's so many regulation, safety inspection, sometimes even ISO's regulations. But it makes sense. It's, for environments, for communities, for us. Why does gaming industries don't need any regulation? It's so strange. You as a company should have some responsibilities. No? Not only is this highly controversial and smells of government overreach, it clashes with so many other laws and regulations that SKG supporters fail to educate themselves about. Ooh, well, this will be interesting. We are gonna be educated. The EU has been aggressively enforcing competition law in gaming, fining Valve and 5 publishers 7.9 million euro for geo-blocking practices. Since 2010, the number of merger notifications filed before the European Commission regarding the gaming industry has tripled. What? Causation don't imply correlation, ไม่ good man. How do you know that it's from this that led to merger filed? Okay, well, even if it's true, who needs regulation anyway? No more water regulation, no more food regulation. Just do whatever you want. I guess? I have no idea. Digital Services Act imposes extraterritorial obligations on gaming companies serving EU users. GDPR restricts international data transfers, which directly conflicts with game preservation goals, requiring cross-border data movement. Every single one. I don't know why they're ranting these points, but okay. Every single one of these regulatory frameworks would create compliance nightmares for the technical mandates SKG is demanding. Oh no, we can't make this kind of game anymore. Wow, single player, multiplayer mode. Wow, local area network, private servers. What are those? What? Wait, did Minecraft exist? I don't know. Wait, World of Warcraft? What is that game? I have no idea. Okay. Lost cause undefined law delusion. I haven't heard of this, so this will be interesting. I mean, I might not agree with him in some case, so who knows. The most maddening wow aspect of this campaign is Lost Cause central claim that the law wasn't written for this situation and that laws are undefined or contradictory. This is complete nonsense. Oh, this will be good. The laws are not undefined, they are comprehensive and they clearly favor publishers. Well, that's bad. We should fix that with an initiative. Wow, thank you for telling me. The EU Information Society Directive explicitly protects DRM systems. Consumer protection laws require disclosure, not indefinite service obligations. The SKG are not asking indefinite service obligations. Are you saying that this is indefinite service obligation? No, right? So Where did that come from? Copyright law establishes clear hierarchies where intellectual property protection takes precedence over consumer convenience. So me being able to play these games are convenience, according to Daniel Tan. Okay, I disagree. Scott's argument boils down to traditional expectations are that game lasts indefinitely. Since the blog says boils down to, I don't know if that's actually the case, that it boils down to this, which is legally irrelevant. Consumer expectations don't override explicit contractual terms that meet disclosure requirements. Well, and we're saying that the terms are unfair, so that's why we do initiative, no? The distinction between licensing and ownership is a centuries-old legal doctrine, not some modern ambiguity that causes us scratching their heads over. Wait. Now you're just saying that the licensing and ownership use old laws that don't catch up with recent technologies. Oh no! This is an argument for why we should reform licensing and ownership law. Thank you. True. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. They should take a look at licensing and ownership because it's so old that they didn't account for widespread internet and digital goods. Thank you. Thank you for telling me. Okay, like as I said, certain licensing was impossible when internet wasn't widespread, but now that everyone have internet, games can be always online. So they can shut down using license whenever they want. But they can't do that back in those days because always online games is impossible because not everyone has internet. Thank you. Thank you for telling me that they're too old and need reforms. Thank you. When Scott claims, and also traditional expectations are that game lasts indefinitely. My perspective would be traditional games shows that it's possible to make games survive its end of life. So it's not the expectation alone, it's the possibility as well. If you want to talk about tradition, hear me? When Scott claims the industry's terms might possibly be illegal, might be, who knows? He's demonstrating a fundamental misunderstanding of contract law. These terms comply with disclosure requirements and the existing consumer protection frameworks. Steam's disclaimer that purchases only grant licenses isn't some sneaky legal workaround, it's legal compliance. Well, then change the law. We don't like the law, so we petition or make an initiative to change them, you know? If you are gonna argue that all these bad things are legal, so nothing should be changed, let me direct you to slavery in the great United States of America. Well, at least back before they were abolished, you know? It was legal, so why should we change? Slavery was legal, so why are you complaining? That's kinda similar argument to what this person is kinda making, I think. Free-to-play, surely on top. The fact that movement also wants to extend itself to free-to-play game is also egregious. People did not pay for these games. Yeah, they pay for gachas, I guess. And microtransactions do not constitute ownership of some license to own the game in perpetuity. It should be. In my opinion, it should be. Like, they sink money into the games. You can't just take them away. The game, the microtransaction item, that kind of feels like a death. Is it? I heard some argument. So, somebody compared this to going to Disneyland. You buy a ticket to stay on Disneyland for one day, You don't own Disneyland. So it's the same with games. You're owning some license. Cool, very cool. Except Disneyland and softwares are completely different. Disneyland is a location with limited spaces and seats in rides. For software, there are no limits. 5,000 people could use the software at the same time. Like, to compare these two is not really logical to me, I think. So there you go. The EU Consumer Protection Cooperation Network has already published principles requiring clear and transparent pricing for in-game currencies and prohibiting practices that force consumers to purchase unwanted in-game virtual currency. The regulatory framework already addresses the actual problems in free-to-play monetization. How is this related to stop killing games? Clear and transparent pricing for in-game currencies. Amazing. Very good. But what is this sentence for? But SKG wants to extend preservation requirements to game people got for free. What? Are you gonna just gloss over the microtransactions? Cool. I can't even argue against this section because it makes no sense. Okay, the signature struggle reveals the deeper problem. This seems to signal a deep misunderstanding of how games are made and consumed. These people are simply looking for a gamer moment. What is this? Okay. Well, you do you. The petition needs 1 million EU signatures by July 31. Please sign the initiative. To move forward to lawmakers, even if they manage to reach this threshold, the fundamental legal problems remain unchanged. Signature correction doesn't magically transform okay. Interesting choice of words. Demands into wider policy. The EU already provides extensive consumer protection through multiple overlapping frameworks. Competition authorities actively police gaming companies. Data protection laws impose strict obligations. The upcoming Digital Finance Act will add even more requirements. What SKG is asking for isn't consumer protection, it's fundamental rewriting of intellectual property law, contract law, and the entire legal hierarchy that governs digital commerce. They want consumer convenience to override copyright protection, which is legally impossible under EU jurisprudence. Well, if it's impossible, then rewrite or reform the law in such a way that makes it possible. Well, that was easy. 1 million signatures doesn't change legal reality. It just forces the European Commission to formally explain why these demands contradict existing law. Well, if that's true, then you, Daniel Chan, have nothing to fear. Even with maximum public support, the campaign asks legislators to violate EU treaty obligations. What? Override established legal hierarchies and fundamentally alter the relationship between IP rights and consumer protections. No amount of signatures can make the legally impossible become legally viable. Huh? They are the law. So, like, technically they can do whatever they want. But I know that it's hard. But to say that it's impossible would be jumping the guns, I think. Well, I can't really argue against the point because it presents no logics at all. It just says, no, it's impossible. There's too many regulations. Like, well, what am I going to say to that? Cool. Oh yeah, speaking of which, the one that I use ChatGPT, I feel like the onus English is on them to say specifically which part of the directive relates to stop killing game, So I don't have time to go through those. The entitlement, good God. Conclusion: when activism ignores law, the Stop Killing Games movement represents the worst kind of activism, well-intentioned but legally illiterate demands that ignore existing protections while asking for impossible remedies. How do you know? You work for the EU or something? Like, wow. So, according to you, we don't need to talk or discuss anything because it's impossible. No way. What? Are you a lawyer? What's going on? You seem to already know the conclusion. That's amazing. Okay. I mean, you could be right. I don't know. To be clear, game preservation is a legitimate concern. Digital works can disappear forever when servers shut down. There's real cultural value in maintaining access to gaming history, but the fact that a problem exists doesn't justify legally impossible solutions or activism built on fundamental misunderstandings of law. Okay. Even if the law says that killing games is legal, the consumers are saying that they don't like them. They don't like what's happening. Please change the law or reform the law. Happens all the time. What, you forgot about Apple USB Type-C already? Well, that was fast. Even countries with fair use doctrines haven't solved this through copyright exceptions. The US, despite its broader fair use protections, still sees games disappear when publishers shut down servers. Okay, I think according to Law Scott, the US court haven't even considered the crew lawsuit at all, whereas I think in German, the court at least look into the lawsuit, right? So I feel like saying that the US is better regarding killing games is I think it's jumping the guns. I think fair use doesn't automatically create preservation rights for commercial software, and attempts to preserve online-only games through emulation and reverse engineering remain legally precarious even under more permissive copyright regimes. I feel like the argument is that killing games is right because it's happening right now. So if we time machine back to later to era, then killing games is wrong. Cool. I don't think that's a logical argument. Okay, just because they're doing it doesn't mean it's good. The blog makes an argument on traditional expectation is irrelevant. But now you're like, it's happening now, therefore it's relevant. What? How is that logical? Law Scott spends a year claiming laws were undefined when they're actually comprehensive and actually opposed to his goals. The movement asked for government blah 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 blah. Yeah. If supporters actually cared about consumer protection, they would focus on strengthening disclosure requirements under existing unfair commercial practice law or pushing for clearer expiration date requirements for digital services. These are achievable goals within existing legal frameworks. No, I don't want this. I want games to stop dying. I want games to stop dying. How is this so hard? Why? Why is this so hard? I don't understand. Like, what is the matter with you? Instead, they chose to tilt at copyright windmills while claiming the law doesn't exist. The result is predictable. A campaign built on legal impossibilities and a leader who's already announced he's giving up regardless of the outcome. Okay. Sometimes the law is exactly what it appears to be, and the problem is a legal uncertainty. It's activist delusion. Makes no sense. Laws can be changed. I think I said this like 4 times in this page already. Licenses agreement doesn't override laws as well. Licensing agreements still have to follow the laws. So like if you're going to say, oh no, this demands run afoul of the licensing, some things can be written in the licensing agreement. It's just the law or the circumstances. Can't be helped. I love how all the arguments doesn't care about consumers at all. Like, I feel like this person haven't played any old games, and it shows how sad that people, I guess younger people, are living in this hellscape, and they thought that it's normal. It shouldn't be. Very sad, I think. I can't. Anyway, before we continue on, I will argue against some arguments that I saw online. So the famous YouTuber said something along the line of there could be bad people who try to bankrupt the game by DDoSing or distributed denial of service the servers, so that company lose profit and they shut down the server essentially, so that the bad people can profit by stealing the game based on this initiative or law that could happen because of the initiative. If it's going to happen, it would happen right now, like even without stealing profit. Why aren't the rival companies, let's say, why don't EA DDoS Ubisoft servers to, kneecap the competitors? Why is that not happening? Well, it's probably because of there's some protection against DDoSing. I don't know if they have tried that, to be fair. I feel like the initiative or the law that could be made from the initiative changes nothing, because there's already incentive to DDoS your competitors already. So if it's going to happen, it would have happened 100%. Come on. Also, you still can't monetize the games at the end of life. It's not in public domain. It's not royalty free. It's like you or me can resell the other two, because I don't own this game. I only have license to play the game, and that's it. I still enjoy limited rights to play the game. Thank God. So it's a strange argument to say you can steal the profit. What, you think you can bankrupt Ubisoft or EA? Now, when I say that, some people would have the other arguments. Please think about the indie developers. Are you saying that the indies are going to make always online games? Really? They have enough resources to do that? Well, if they have that, they probably could make the game playable after end of life anyway, and they would still probably hang in there in case someone violate the copyright. They can still sue the people who try to monetize or steal the profit of the end of life game that is still in copyright. I feel like it changes nothing. And then some people says the game is old, so it should be let go. Sure, let go. Leave the responsibility to the consumer instead by patching single player mode for always online mode, or giving private server program or something. Or you can give out source code if you want, not required, but I know that copyright and IP and all that might stop you from doing so. But if you want to, you do you. I don't know, it's a flimsy argument against initiative to me. And very recently, a very big lobbyist group called Video Games Europe have released like a statement, I guess, position paper on the European petition Stop Killing Games. I argued against most of them in Twitter. I'll bring it up here as well and give you more context, I suppose. But first, for statement of conflict of interest, I suppose, these are the members of the Video Games Europe. So they have all the companies that you know and love. EA Games, Ubisoft, Epic, very nice. Warner Brothers. We all love these companies. I'm sure their arguments would be amazing. Yep. So this is the original PDF file of the paper. It's 5 pages long. I make the argument against them, so we can go together, I suppose. European petition, stop killing games. I shouldn't have said that. Yeah, well, it is a petition. I was a bit emotional there. Why providing continued support do not work for all games? Introduction. The video game industry is committed to consistently providing players with high-quality interactive gaming experiences and recognizes the passion and community that grows around its games. Sure. The decision to discontinue video games is multifaceted and is never taken lightly and must always be a matter of choice. When it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with local consumer protection laws. And we're saying that it's not enough. This document explains the reason why a video game company may decide to discontinue the functionalities supporting the online video games and why this may lead to the video game may no longer be playable. Online video games are interactive entertainment. Unlike a book or a film, an online video game is not a static work. Debatable. Online video games are interactive entertainment that combine numerous elements of artistic and intellectual creation with software, programming, and server infrastructure. No argument for me. Online video games evolve over time after their initial release, providing consumers with regular new content, experiences, patches, and updates. This is highly valued by players and is required to compete in the market. It involves significant ongoing development expenditure over years, sometimes decades. Video games companies put significant investment into creating and developing the base interactive entertainment and experience for their passionate player bases. Like, none of these paragraphs requires games to always be online. I mean, as I have said, single player mode and multiplayer mode, even with local area network, LAN mode, even. Like, where did they go? Why would all this requirement requires that single player and LAN mode has to go? Why? Like, remember Minecraft? They've got new content all the time. No Man's Sky, Stardew Valley. I can say Baldur's Gate as well, sometimes, I guess. And those games have single player mode and multiplayer mode, sometimes with local area network. So even the introduction is a bit flimsy here. The right to decide how, when, and for how long to make an online video game services available to players is vital in justifying its cost and fostering continued technical innovation. Oh, I thought you sustain the server until you don't make a profit. I didn't know that you have to decide. I was joking. They probably have like a time frame plan at first. As right holders and economic entities, video games companies must remain free to decide when an online game is no longer commercially viable and to end continued server support for that game, imposing a legal obligation to continue server support indefinitely. So, I don't know why, but people keep bringing this up. They thought that we want publishers to continue server support indefinitely. So the movement explicitly say that they're not asking to support game forever. They want end of life plan. Now, fair enough. The the movement is not one-to-one with initiative. The initiative only says that they want to leave said video games in a functional playable state. Now, I didn't go through the annex because they just say what laws, treaty to invoke. So these are like justifications mostly, but what they want to do is just that leave said video games in a functional playable state. But I don't know why people keep hallucinating this argument of continuing server support indefinitely. I mean, if you want to do it, no one's going to stop you, but there are far more easier method, my good man. So if you can patch the crew to have single player offline mode, cool. If you can make them make always online game that have multiplayer experience as the main experience, cool. You can give private servers or patch local area network mode, that's fine too. Like there's so many ways to make the games playable after the end of life. Like these games, for God's sake, why does people forget these games? I don't understand. Call of Duty have private servers. World of Warcraft private servers. Minecraft has official private servers. So you are telling me that these genius in these companies don't have a way out? Really? Come on, I believe in you. Don't disappoint me, smart people. Okay, let's continue. Or to develop online video games in a specific technical manner that will allow permanent use, will raise the cost and risk of developing such games. What? Now I have new respect to these people. Wow, it must have been very costly to develop these games with local area network connection, multiplayer mode, and single player mode. Thank you, developers. Back in the day, you were amazing. The developers in this day and age, they couldn't do what you have done. What a shameful choice of words. If you have a shielding effect on game design and act as a disincentive to making such games available in Europe. Really? I feel like even the back end changes. The gaming, the mechanisms, the microtransactions can still stay the same, right? I mean, World of Warcraft, Minecraft, they have microtransaction and they're fine. They still have private servers. So what is the problem for some of you guys? This incentive to make such games available in Europe. So I guess they're claiming that they're going to single out EU countries from some of the games. Well, if they hate profits, then sure, you can do that. I mean, I wrote that if you think that selling your game in anti-consumer manner worldwide without EU is more profitable than conforming to EU, well, the hypothetical law, so that you can sell everywhere, including the EU, then I guess so. Is that what happened to Apple? Did they single out EU? Did they stop selling iPhones in EU? I don't think so, right? Was I wrong? No, I'm not sure. I haven't researched about the Apple that much. Maybe the EU use only Android. Who knows? I mean, I'm fine with that. It's far from a trivial modification or a simple addition to the game development phase. Yet, since the law is not retroactive, do that in your future games. You can do it back in the day. I think you can do it now. I believe in you. You can do it. Go, AAA Dev. Go. I cheer for you. It would ignore material, reputational, safety, and security concerns. I think some people cited the Sony data leaks. I don't want to put too much weight in that argument because, two wrongs doesn't make a right. I think the World of Warcraft and Minecraft private servers have no security or safety concern or problems, right? So why would it happen now? I mean, reputational, sure, because some people don't do research and did not realize that the publishers have dissociated their involvement with the game. But that's a minor, like an almost a non-issue, to be fair. Why there are video games companies that have elected to enable their online games to live beyond that is being proposed their commercial viability. This is and must always be a matter of choice, as it will depend on what is reasonable and appropriate for the specific games company, and audience. What did I say? I don't remember. Oh, I want them to have more responsibilities. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I still stand by that. As I have said, no reason for software or games to expire. It's not a food. It doesn't spoil. It doesn't age. It doesn't break as time goes on. It doesn't have chemical reaction that makes them broken when time goes by. So it makes no sense for there to be expiration date on games or softwares or video games whether digital or physical copies are licensed. I think I said that before. Yeah, they are licensed, but physical copies, for example, back in the olden days, yes, you are licensed in a way that you can keep playing the game as long as you have the disc, but you can't monetize the game. You can't copy the games and sell them or distribute them or circumvent their copy, the DRM or something, right? But think of back in those days, they can't send or compel you to break your disc and uninstall your game. But now, because of everything is online, now they can take your game away by a push of a button. Metaphorically, maybe literally, who knows? So imagine if they do this with dishwashers, washing machines, vacuum cleaners. That's horrible, right? I mean, it's essentially artificial limitations, as is the case with virtually all digital works when consumers purchase online games, regardless of the country of sale. What they acquire is a personal license to access and play the copy of the game. Yeah, back in the days, there's no time limit though, right? Right? Remember this? Remember all this? No. When were you born, my good man? In accordance with the game's term of services. I think like licensing agreement, terms of services cannot violate laws. So maybe the law is ambiguous. Maybe the law agrees with the current anti-consumer practices. The consumers agrees with the initiative that something has to be done. So how are we going to force these evil companies? Okay, that's a bit too far. How these companies going to not do anti-consumer things? Well, we have to make laws to force them to. Right. This is not really an argument. This is the same argument as, well, it has been and always is. Therefore, it's the right thing to do. Well, we are saying that it's not, so we are not going to take this lying down or something. The consumer does not acquire ownership of that video games. True. That's true. As I have said, these clear IP rights underpin the entire market and enable the strong investment that the industry has seen for decades. There's no legal uncertainty about the status quo of video games. When you say decades, I think it's like only 2 decades, I think, before always online games are widespread. I mean, this was released in... this one released in 2003. I think this one was 2004 or 5. I don't remember. So, not that long for such a practice, I think. There's no legal uncertainty about the status quo of video games. Why an obligation for companies to provide only a limited type of end-of-life plan is disproportionate? It's not clear what the initiators of the Stop Killing Games petition seek to achieve as a legal change. To be fair, if you read only the initiative, it's not really. I think it's pretty clear that they want the video games to be in a functional playable state. I think some arguments can be made that the difficulty of drafting or enforcing the law would be what would be considered a reasonable, functional, playable state for the purpose of punishment or enforcement. I think that's the real problem. Like the problem of, the initiative is too vague. They want people to do this or do that. I don't think that's the real problems. I think the real problems would be how are we going to enforce where they actually make some laws, right? I think that's the real problems. Like, who would decide that what is a reasonable playable state? Like, I would say that Far Cry 3 without co-op should require reimbursement or private servers, but that's just my opinion. I might went too far on that. It appears to be a combination of a requirement to provide online services for as long as a consumer wants them, regardless of price paid. No. Why did you hallucinate this argument? Okay. And or a requirement to provide a very specific form of end-of-life plan where the game is altered to enable private servers to operate. We do not believe these are proportionate demands. Well, I will be happy to tell you that there are other options. Local area network, single player mode, do whatever you want. Not private servers is not the only options. It is an option, but not the only option. You know? Why do I feel like I click on Yuri's face a lot? Don't know what happened there. Online video games are complex operations. They offer interactive features that are supported by multiple servers. Yeah, why did you make it complex then? I feel like back in the day, it's not complex. Why did you make it complex then? I don't understand. It feels like you're the one who create these entire problems. But why are the players the one have to take responsibilities for publishers' problems and mistakes, I guess? Enabling functionality of ever-increasing complexity. What functionality? I don't understand. Microtransactions have been with us for a long time. For example, World of Warcraft, and that one has private servers. So what kind of function requires more complexity? I don't leaderboard, scoreboard. I don't understand. But I feel like whatever it is, it can be made simpler. You're just not doing it. That's the problem. This is integral to the modern gameplay experience that players expect. What, like live service games? Regular patches and updates? You don't need complex servers. You just need to roll out the patches. That's it. Like the good old days. On him again. How about this one? They've got patches. We download patches. It's great. Sometimes we have new content addition, like Stardew Valley, No Man's Sky. I say that. It's not always online games. What are you talking about? Like, wow, I don't know what kind of games you were playing in your life, but my condolences, I suppose. These online features are increasingly becoming intertwined in the overall gameplay experience, as opposed to being limited to a dedicated online mode within the game. You know what? I would even argue that MMORPGs can be played single player mode. Like, just remove other people. Like, I play MMORPGs like a single player games anyway. Like, it could have single player mode, to be fair, just with microtransactions and updates. That's it. What's the problem here? I think Genshin Impact could be single player mode with microtransactions as well. Although I understand that the gacha system should be connected to a server to prevent some kind of loaded probabilities, I suppose. But anyway, it shouldn't be that hard, is what I'm saying. This interconnected dependency makes it difficult to clearly segregate online features from offline functionality. Disagree? Here are the ways in which players and companies will be affected. Here we go, this should be fun. Reduce or no player protection, requiring games to run on private servers. I mean, not the only choice, but I get what you're saying. Would result in the inability for games companies to continue to protect players from illegal or harmful content or conduct. I think people raise low blocks as the problems, even though they are not at its end of life. So nothing changed, really. And besides, if a private server is bad, people just move on to other private servers. Just that easy, because anyone can host the servers. So people would naturally pivot to good ones. I see no problems here. You're just inventing problems to make you look good. SM moderation, tell that to Blizzard, and player safety teams would no longer be involved. Yeah, now it's the responsibility of the guy who hosts the servers. Why do you care? I mean, you dissociated from the game by shutting it down or declaring end of life. In particular, cheating could become rampant without proper enforcement. It's okay. I think it still happened with games that are not in end of life. Reporting systems designed to allow players to flag problematic content and behavior to games companies would no longer operate as intended or would have to be disabled entirely. Correction, we have Discord. The absence of effective moderation systems would create a less safe environment for consumers and may foster the proliferation of undesirable content, while simultaneously frustrating the ability for EU digital services coordinators to act against such content. Why? This not only presents a safety risk for consumers, but could also lead to brand reputation issues for the video games company. So the whole argument is that player would get less good gaming experience. So you would rather player have zero experience rather than less experience. How could you come up with this argument? And what about World of Warcraft private servers? What happened? Is it like a lawless chaos place? I wonder. I actually don't know. People says it's okay, but I actually don't have personal experience with World of Warcraft. I have not bought the game, is the problem. And also, pretty sneaky to talk about brand reputation issues under player safety. But that's okay, I forgive you. Increased security release, releasing game code or server binaries to facilitate creation of private servers operated by players could expose games companies and consumers to bad actors, malware, data breaches, and DDoS attacks. Yeah, again, someone says about Sony, whatever. If nobody demands game code or source code, I mean, you could give that if you want, but if you can't, then do it like Minecraft by giving out official private server binaries, executable, blah blah blah, those stuff. There, problem solved. Like, why? How is that so hard? Like, design your future games to be able to do that. I believe in you. You can do it. Also for exposing like vulnerabilities and such. Yeah, if your programs can be defeated just because someone know the source code, then you are just using security through obscurity. And I think it's universally agreed that it's not a good idea. So maybe invest in cybersecurity when you develop your games. Always online games, especially. Well, there's only two arguments that favors the consumers. Well, favors in quotation mark the consumers. Now the rest is for the companies, of course. Impact on companies. Number 3, significant engineering and architecture challenges. Allowing players to run private servers would present significant engineering and architectural challenges for many games due to the way in which such online features are integrated with other proprietary systems and services required for the game. Creating a private server compatible version would be a prohibitive cost, in some cases years or decades after the game's initial release, when only a small audience remains. Is that what happened to Minecraft? I don't know. The problems of always online games, especially, is of their own making. They make it hard themselves to probably combat against piracy, which is understandable, but now you have to take responsibilities for your own actions. So you guys are genius. I know you can do it. Besides, it's for future games. And again, you could do it in those games. Why? What's stopping you from doing it now? Divine intervention? Number 4, negative impact on investment in games, jobs, growth, and consumer choice. Oh, I love this very much. Ensuring an online game can work without official server support requires a significant investment of engineering resources, making it a very costly exercise for video games companies. Okay, so for games that got less selected from the consumers, how is that possible then? I don't think they have that much money. They can do it. Why can't you, with so much money, do it? What is the difference here? Is it a difference in skills? Is it a skill issue? Many of the costs that games companies would incur in implementing an end-of-life plan would have to be incurred towards the end of the commercial life of the game, when it's no longer commercially viable to continue support. Requirements to implement such plans would lead to less risk-taking, fewer investment projects in developing new games, and potentially fewer jobs. Ultimately, it could lead to increased costs for consumers and less choice. I compare that to regulating drinking water. Oh no, now we have to filter the water. Now we have to kill bacteria. Now we have to ensure that there are no heavy metals in the water. Oh no, so many regulations. Boo-hoo. Like, really. Like, just do it for consumers, for God's sake. And besides, it's clear that they can do it. They just don't. That's it. Like, it's infuriating and sad to see how far those respectable publishers and developers fall down like this. That's why I'm quite passionate when I saw the Stop Killing Game movement and the initiative. I wish I was a citizen of EU, but I'm not. What a shame. Reputational harm. Allowing players to run private servers with online interaction possibilities could result in players using those games in ways that don't align with the game's company's brand values, leading to a negative associations with the brand, thereby harming its reputation. I think this one holds water, but again, they dissociate themselves from the game, so it shouldn't be companies' responsibilities. But I understand that consumers they don't do research well, which is pretty funny, because they are tacitly agreeing that consumers don't do proper researches. So That means just because they buy the game doesn't mean that they think that the practice is not anti-consumer. Now that's pretty funny. Anyway, games with private servers, I don't see such problems. So I wish I have some examples that validate this claim, but I have played in private servers for Command and Conquer games. I don't see any problems. So maybe there's games that have the problems, but again, just do it for the consumers. Please. Impact on intellectual property rights. Erosion of intellectual property rights. Number 6. Mandating games companies to keep their online games operable post official support would undermine their rights and autonomy in deciding how their intellectual property is utilized. There is a vital interest in maintaining effective copyright protection. Well, the initiative is not telling you to forgo the copyright, so good for you. Including protection against circumvention. Nobody is asking to circumvent the protection of technologies that control access to copyrighted video game software, where such circumvention is undertaken in circumstances that would lead to an unauthorized public exploitation of games. What are you talking about? Are you talking about private servers? It's like Minecraft private servers. You don't have the source code. You don't know how the private server works inside. You just know that you run the program, do some steps, then you can host a private server. Like, you don't need to circumvent anything. If the company have already designed some programs, patches, private servers on their own, this is just saying, well, I don't want to do anything. But if you want to do something, you have to circumvent all these hurdles. Cool. Don't do it. Then don't do that. Just like the old times. Eh? Just like old times. You and I. Please, come back. EA. Ubisoft. I miss you. Well, the old ones, not the current ones. 7. Competition from community-supported versions. Such a requirement could lead to community-supported versions of games competing with official versions, potentially jeopardizing the financial investments of the video games companies. This would lead to confusion between trademarks, and the original trademark holder may be held responsible for actions undertaken by a community-supported version. Held responsible by who? Surely not the EU, right? Because under the new law, they would probably make exemption and clear dissociation. Anyway, so what is the concern? Oh, right, the trademarks. So I was a bit confused in this one. So I says 2 possibilities. They could mean that releasing the private servers before end of life would run afoul of trademarks. In that case, the fix is really easy. Don't release it yet. Release it later. But I saw some examples. I think Overwatch 1 was shut down, right? So if, for example, someone hosts private servers on Overwatch 1 while Overwatch 2 is still officially supported by Blizzard's Activision, I guess that could be pretty valid concern, but I feel like this problem is really tiny fraction, right? And I mean, again, that's on the consumer to do research anyway on whether it has been dissociated. Well, I've got good solution. Maybe write the law mandating private servers to make a big words saying, this is not official. We have no association with the publishers and developers. There. Done. Easy. Everyone who plays the games on private servers. No, that is not the publisher. It's the private servers. That's it. Wow, that was easy. Okay, move on. Number 8, fourth feature of licensing and reproduction rights, allowing consumers to create or run modified copies of online games. What? Would necessitate games companies to either license additional rights or refrain from enforcing them. Yeah, effectively leading to a fourth feature of control over these rights. Now you hide behind license. I said this before. So back in olden days, no always online games because people don't have internet. So license that says players have to destroy their copies of the games is virtually impossible. So that never happened. So now with the laws, we could enforce that license to stop or shut down games is to be made impossible. That's it. It's like a problems that they make themselves. Like the license that they're talking about is probably impossible back in pre-internet days. Now you use those licenses to take advantage of players. So maybe we should enforce or control the license to make it less possible for them to be anti-consumer. I mean, it's not impossible. You could live without license to shut down games back in the olden days. So why can't you do it now? Yeah. Number 9, constraints from third-party IP. Games companies often utilize third-party software and services which may have licensing terms, restricting the use to the commercial life of the game or prohibiting sub-licensing to players, thereby hindering the modification or patching of games for private servers. In particular, this could jeopardize and infringe the copyright of musical works and lead to legal actions from these right holders on the basis of unauthorized exploitation of their works. So again, back in those olden days, to make a license agreement on destroying games based on limited terms is impossible. So that never happened. So maybe you should remember your loot and go back to those days. Fine, if that's impossible, then just find a replacement music. Like, my god, this game could do it. This game could replace music, but you are saying that you guys can't? That would be pretty amazing if that's the case. Okay, I know that the same musics, but I do see some problems with games like cars, planes, guns. So I feel like prohibiting license agreement on limiting terms and forcing shutdown should just be made illegal altogether would be my ideal outcome, because it was possible back in those days, but you're saying you can't now? Why? What's stopping you? Heart attacks? Number 10, constraints from third-party services. Game depends on third-party services such as platforms on which the game is offered to the consumer, releasing the code for those services. No one asked for the code, but okay, which would be necessary should a legal requirement allow player communities to run a game may not be possible, as this would potentially be an IP infringement. Furthermore, game company servers are increasingly run on the cloud. If cloud servers are discontinued, which sometimes happens, whatever that means, this necessitates either shutting down other titles or creating costly workarounds. The latter may not always be possible. Okay, again, the initiative never said about how to make games playable, but if they want to release source code, by all means, I would be thankful. But they don't have to. Again, Minecraft server, you don't know the code, but you can run it, fine. Unity, you don't know the source code, but you can make games with them, cool. Unreal Engine. You don't know the code, but you can still design games based on their programs. Like source code, you don't have to release source code, my good man. Where is this arguments coming from? So I guess the only event where releasing the source code is mandatory would be in the event that you did not plan any workaround, like at all, after the law is in effect. If you let problems go that far, then maybe you don't deserve to be a company, my good man. Like what? This is so weird. I still have no idea about cloud servers. They're saying like, or sometimes the cloud servers provider, they just shut down without warning. Wow, what seriously? Like, no warnings? And you guys let that happen? Do you guys have no power over those cloud service providers at all? Really? I don't believe you. But now that you admit that cloud servers have problems, you have to, if the law based on the initiative go into effect, you can't claim that you don't know that cloud servers do shut down when it happens. That means you have to plan ahead in case of that happen. So ignorance in case of cloud servers is not an actual excuse because you just admitted that you knew that there's a problems. So good job for telling us. Thank you. So all of the above would also affect compliance with PEGI ratings, where a game has a PEGI age ratings and offers multiplayer functionality. The game's company is contractually bound by the PEGI Code of Conduct to respect various obligations related to online safety and privacy. Yeah, I find that quite valid, the concern, but tell that to the lawmaker when they're going to draft some law. Then they could make exemptions easy. Because they announced dissociation and shutting down, so I don't see a problem to exempt the game from PEGI. To do so would expose the game's company to legal uncertainty with respect to contractual obligation and the PEGI Code of Conduct. Yeah, this is actual non-issue, but it's a good thing to raise this problem before the law is in place, I suppose. The importance of consumer protection laws. Notwithstanding the applicable licensing structure, all video games offered to players in the EU are subject to European consumer protection laws. And apparently the initiative and the consumers are saying it's not enough, which include robust transparency and fairness obligations on games companies and ensure that games companies act reasonably when terminating online support for a game. European consumer protection laws provide consumers with warranties and redress rights with respect to both the game and the physical medium on which the game is made available, but these laws do not transfer ownership of the game to consumers. Games. What did I say? Oh, okay. I just said that, yeah, today is game, tomorrow it could be a washing machine or something. Games are license to the consumer in accordance with... Okay, before we continue. I know that electrical appliances have warranties, but people still expect them to work way longer than the warranties. So just saying, oh, well, we're gonna make the appliances always online and we'll shut them down whenever they want, but we'll do that after the warranties. That's also bad, you know? So, no. Bad people. Bad companies. Games are licensed to the consumer in accordance with their terms of service. These set out the terms upon which consumers may access and play such games, and the situations in which such license rights may be terminated. Consumers are informed that their access to online games and associated services may terminate and are informed with sufficient notice in cases when that does happen. Yeah, we don't like that. So that's it. We don't like that. It's not fair. I don't care if if we're informed. I don't want that. Why can't we just go back to the good days? Not that one. Why can't we just go back to the good days? Just close this one. I don't want to open that again. Like, why not? Right? Come on. Again, I say this like 10 times, I guess. Games and softwares have no expiration dates. It doesn't spoil. It doesn't break down. It undergoes no chemical reactions. So why should it have like time of death? Like why? Why should it die? It's a software. It's a code. Like no reason. That's what. Transparency. Players must be given reasonable prior notice before any termination of access. I guess so. But I feel like it's unfair. Let's say, for example, if I bought the crew in the 1st of December, but the announcement was made, let's say, 3 weeks later, well, that's not fair. I got to play the games shorter than most people, while probably paying as much as the other people. That's not fair, right? It's still not fair. And 3 weeks is way beyond the 14 days of return dates mandated by the EU, I believe. Reimbursement. The Digital Content Directive provides consumers with price reduction and reimbursement rights in certain circumstances, but also with repair and replacement rights if a game service fails to achieve conformity with certain required warranties. Have anyone been reimbursed from cute games? I don't know. Service duration, and also what is certain required warranties in the context of softwares and video games. Why is that? Even you guys are not telling me that. Service duration. EU legislation requires that the service aspects of online video games be provided for a reasonable amount of time, taking into account all relevant factors. It would be disproportionate for a specific duration to be imposed, as this would need to be valid of all types of services, not just games. Again, this is a continuation from the argument that we want publishers to maintain services indefinitely. No, they can shut down the game in 2 weeks or 3 weeks to, over 14 days as mandated, if that's what they want. But as long as there are customers who bought the game, they must make the game playable, reasonably playable, and you can give out the private servers. If that's what you want, no problem for me. Like, this argument is disingenuous. Wow, English. That was hard. Fair terms. The Unfair Terms Directive prohibits games companies from imposing terms on consumers that significantly imbalance the parties' rights and obligations to the detriment of consumers. Yeah, publishers being the only one who decides when the contract or the games can be terminated seems pretty unfair to the detriment to me. How can you write this with a straight face? Like, I don't care if games becomes old. They don't have age limit. They don't become old and die. They don't lose brain cells. Like, why do they have to die? Makes no sense. And imagine if Microsoft decide to make Windows revocable. That's pretty bad, right? Video games companies are committed to the preservation of games and their cultural value. This one is like, look, we're trying to preserve games too. Look, you don't need laws. Look, but lead the prince. And God, I am most amused by the gals of these people. It's important to separate the legal proposals being made by the petitioners from specific end-of-life requirements for commercial video games, from the question of the preservation of games as creative and cultural works. So, not entertainment, not for playing, but just for arts and cultural works. So, yeah, just from that, I already knew that they're not saying about playing the games. Thanks, guys. Do you guys not know what games are made for? For God's sake, Video Games Europe and their member companies are committed to and actively support serious professional efforts to preserve video games and recognize the industry's creative contributions under circumstances that do not jeopardize game companies' rights under copyright law. For example, members regularly donate game copies and hardware to preservation organizations and support museum exhibitions featuring games. Footnote number 1, which says EA support use of Battlefield 1 in World War I exhibition at the Notre Dame de Lorette in Suisse, France. I'm sorry if I butchered the name. And One Piece Museum in Novion, oh, I'm sorry, I can't read that. France. And use of SimCity 2000 in the Game Society exhibition at the National Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art in Seoul, Korea. Cool. Can I play those? Other video games companies have undertaken the gigantic task of creating video games libraries to support the preservation of games. So, and the footnote 2 is embracergamesarchive.com. I went into the things. It's just an archive. I wanna know if I can get in there and play the games. So, I don't remember what's the fact. I went into it, screenshot it, whatever. You can find that yourselves. So I screenshot it. Can I visit the archive? The archive is for everyone. We welcome all inquiries. However, we prioritize requests that support gaming culture, history, and game industry. Cool. Why the archive is not open to the public? We hope our website and social media will offer insight into the work being done by our team. Thanks, guys. I can't even access the archive. What's the point here? So, and even if I can get in, they never say about anything about playing the games. So, do I just go in there and stare at the game boxes and arts? I wanna play the games! Please! What is your problems with us playing the games? Also, yeah, they're treating softwares and video games like ancient relics. It belongs in the museum, he says in perfect Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones voice. And sure, some games, especially box arts and physical copies, physical bonuses, yeah, I guess they should belong in the museum. But the games themselves, they are really different from ancient relics. They can be copied, they can be played at homes, everyone's homes, at the same times. I mean, ancient relics can't do that. I understand, you can make a copy, but whatever. But for video games, you can make a perfect copy and play them. You know, like these games, like I'm sorry for hammering the point of these old games. I want to show people that it was possible back in the old days, but because artificial limitation, apparently we can't do that anymore. Maybe it's developers' incompetence. Who knows? I mean, back in the old days, developers are actually passionate, but now, maybe not. Who knows? Well, in the AAA industry. Anyway, I know that indies developers, they're good people. They make good games, like Baldur's Gate 3, Minecraft, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to throw shades on the indies. Hear me? I love you. Anyway, so the logic of preserving the game in some building but unplayable is such nonsense to me. Games are made to be played and enjoyed. Wow, what a what a strange take. Games are to be played. What? No, I disagree, says the gaming industry apparently. So from these arguments from the biggest European lobbyists for the gaming industry, it's really clear that they don't accept any premises or ideal from Stop Killing Game movement and initiative. So if anyone says, no, they can self-regulate, give them a chance, voice concern to them. Nah, no way. How could you say that after leading this mostly grasping at straws arguments? Come on, guys. Like, no, there must be laws. If there are already laws that facilitate the anti-consumer practices, we must reform them and change them, make them become modernized. Yeah. As Daniel Tan blog says, oh, the copyright license law, they have been there for long time, centuries old even. Well, okay, that means it's not up to date for the current technology, the Internet of Things. Well, I guess we have to update them then, patch them, fix them, just like games, make laws a life service by continuing updating those laws. There we go. I feel smart saying that. That was a joke, by the way. Anyway, hopefully other people have better arguments than me. If you want to read what I show on screen for these documents, I will link them to my Twitter. It's in my Twitter. So there we go. Also, right, as I have said, the Stop Killing Games EU initiative has enough signees. Well, even the UK petition has enough signees. But why not sign more? If you agree with them, sign, keep signing, show them that we don't want this anti-consumer. Like, we are really serious about this. And also, as we have said, invalid signatures may happen in EU because someone may have accidentally typed down wrong data, and that's fine. So I need your help. The SKG needs your help. The gamer needs your help. Hear me. So please, for God's sake, please bring back the good old days of actually owning your games. Yeah, I know you want that. Hear me. And also, this is not over. Even if you have 5 million signatures, there's still so many processes to be had. I think, like most laws, this would take 3 to 4 years to even conceive the word of law. I could be wrong. I wish I'm wrong. I hope it's fast. More games to save. Remember that laws are generally not retroactive. So old games that was released long time ago, they could die if companies choose not to. So they're literally at the game's publishers' mercy. Fine, we probably can't force them to do anything. But for new games, after the laws, that would be cool if we can make them survive the onslaught from the publishers. Right? Yep. So this is not over yet. The lobbyists and gaming companies will try to subvert. I don't know if that's too strong a word, but they will try to subvert. They will try their very best in whatever ways possible to either make the law, either to kneecap the law to make it ineffective, or whatever else that even I can imagine. But effectively invalidating the entire initiative or something. So yeah, I love games. I came from old games, from Super Famicom to modern games, Nintendo Switch, current PC games. So I don't want games to die. That's it. And it's not impossible, because there are games that do that. So please, we probably have to be vigilant. As someone says, the price of freedom is vigilant. Eternal vigilant. English, that was hard. So it's not over yet. we have to keep track of the processes of the parliament, the EU parliament after this, because once we see the lobbyists and the gaming industry try to subvert our the stop killing games ideal or goal, we have we the people have to be there to voice our dissatisfaction at least, right? Because we don't have money, let's face it. So our power comes from numbers of people rather than money, unfortunately. So yeah, we still have to keep track of this. It's not over. So hopefully this entire video shows that stop killing games is possible. Not only possible, it has been done many times, long time ago. Problems that these lobbyists and the people who disagree with the movement, well, the problems that they raised are problems that the industries created themselves. So why is it the players' responsibilities to cater to the demands of the companies? That makes no sense. And again, games, softwares, they have no age. They do not become worse over time. So makes no sense for them to have time of death, you know? So I hope my reasoning is sounds. Any criticisms most welcome. Sorry that this video is long, as usual. I guess it's a serious video. I love games. I think I showed you how much I love games from old times to new times. So I hope you see where I'm coming from. So I think that's it. Don't know if I'm going to make any follow-up videos, but anyway, with that, allow me to end it here for now. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll be seeing you the next time. Please take care of yourselves, and goodbye. Yeah, overdrive! Meow. That doesn't sound like a car, isn't it? God damn it. Well, the irony of the overdrive is that the catalyst for the initiative was the crew. A driving game. Oops, sorry. Wrong one. The driving game, isn't it? Wow. The jokes rise themselves. There are no coincidences.